swing and a drive. Right field and deep. Back goes Aquino. It's got a chance. Gone. Get out the tape measure. Long gone. Fly the W!
Cubs fans, it's time to fly the W with Dustin Rhodes and Paul Crawley Jean.
This is episode 356. The Cubs come back to earth, Crawley. You're listening to the Fly the W podcast, part of the Blue Wire Network. Don't forget to listen, download, subscribe, most importantly, review the podcast, follow on the socials. I'm at Mully and Haw on X.
You can follow me on Crawley's Cubs on X, Blue Sky, and TikTok. Crawley's Clubhouse on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Threads. You can email us at crawleysclubhouse@gmail.com. Dustin, it couldn't last forever, right?
Couldn't last forever. They got to 10. But they have come back to earth. And I know we both didn't think they were going to be 13 or 14 in a row by the time we talked again. So not awful, not great, somewhere in the middle. But they are going to get out of April as an above 500 baseball team. And I've got to say, I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, anytime you have a 10-game winning streak, I mean, it changes everything. It changes your outlook, and we're going to talk more about it later. But these things don't happen often, so it was a fun one, an enjoyable one. Dustin, we did make some predictions on how we thought it was going to go. I think you got it a little bit closer than me, but let's take a look. Prediction.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about tomorrow. You know, the Dodgers are playing close to home. Cross-country flight took a lot out of them. Bullpen is taxed. Don't get swept. This is a don't get swept for me. Going west. I don't have much faith at Friday night. I really don't. I hope they win. Hope I'm wrong, but I see them winning one of the games, not any more than one, unfortunately.
To me, what have you done for me lately? And remember when the Cubs were struggling, I said I can't pick them to win when they're playing like they are. But seeing that the way this team hits and not having to catch Yamamoto, Glasnow, and Ohtani is the best thing. I agree with you. The game one is the one that really kind of I have questioned. That's the one that I have a hard time feeling. I think the Cubs are going to get to Sasaki, and Ray's been pitching well. And like I said, I'm worried about Robleski against Shota, but Shota's been great too. I almost don't want to bet against him. I'm changing my mind. I'm going with the Cubs lose game one and they win games 2 and 3. How's that?
All right. I've got them winning one, and I think that one might be on Sunday.
You were right on the 2 out of 3. You were right.
We both kind of were stinky. We were both kind of stinky, Crawley.
But if you look at it, right? If we take a look at game one, that point where San Diego had a short flight, the Cubs had to fly cross country. Their bullpen was absolutely. We'll talk plenty about this later in segment 3, but their bullpen, I mean, they're literally just pulling guys out of the street at this point. And you had Jameson Taillon on the mound, who has given up some of just a ton of home runs. It just didn't look like a good matchup for Friday. And when that game started, Dustin, I said, oh boy, here we go. Emmett Sheehan, dominant early. He didn't give up a hit in the first 3 innings, which, is pretty good, but it's not uncommon. Dustin, he struck out 7 batters in 3 innings. He was on pace for the Kerry Wood 20 Ks. I tweeted out. I said, they better get their heads together. Otherwise, they're going to be on the wrong side of history on that one.
Right.
I mean, and the thing about it, Dustin, and it blows my mind because I'm looking right now. I got this big piece for Kerry Wood. They're going to have his bobblehead coming up on Saturday. It just reminds you how difficult it is to keep that pace up. I mean, it was just unbelievable. But the Cubs did finally get a base runner in the 4th when Michael Busch hit a ground rule double. Then Alex Bregman singled. Third base coach Quentin Berry sends Busch home. Andy Pages makes the perfect throw, 95 miles per hour to nail him out at the plate. Maybe Andy Pages could be in the Cubs bullpen. I don't know.
That was a hell of a throw, though, Crawley. That was perfect. That was a hell of a throw.
Oh, but see, that's Andy Pages, and I don't. Here's the thing: he's going to throw out 2 runners in this game. I would have rolled the dice with Ian Happ, who got thrown out earlier. But boy, Michael Busch is not the fastest cat. I don't know if I would have sent him against Pages, but it had to be the perfect throw, and it was. But that Pages has an arm. He's got a cannon.
Hell of an arm. That was a great play. You almost felt bad kind of cheering for it as a baseball fan, right? Like, I mean, you have to recognize when things are really good, and that was something that was really good.
Right on the money too, right leading the catcher into the tag. I mean, it was just perfect, but things didn't go well for JMO in the bottom of the third. He gave up a leadoff single to Hyasung Kim and the number 8 hitter, and he walks the number 9 hitter, Alex Freeland, which isn't the greatest idea when you have to face Ohtani, Freeman, and Will Smith. Bad idea walking the number 9. Put it down the middle. I don't care. But JMO strikes out Ohtani, gets Freddie Freeman to line out, and you're thinking, okay, maybe he's going to get out of this. Then Will Smith gets jiggy with it, hits a 3-run bomb, puts the Dodgers up 3-0. That was the 7th home run in 5 starts given up by Jameson Taillon. And Dustin, it was almost back-to-back, but Seiya Suzuki made a spectacular catch at the wall to rob former teammate Kyle Tucker of a solo home run. Dustin, I will say this, as you know, the weekend didn't go how he wanted, but the one thing that really shined through again was the defense for the most part. I thought there was
most part, yeah. And Suzuki played like Gold Glove caliber right field all weekend.
Oh, it was phenomenal.
He had a couple of big plays.
Yeah. Yep. Taillon would give up an RBI single to Kim in the 4th to make it 4-0. Dodgers would be leading there. And then he would pitch 5 innings, give up 4 runs, 4 hits, 3 walks, 4 Ks. That entire line looks exactly what JMO's been giving you lately. His fastball's down a tick and he's just getting hit, so he's going to give up 4 or 5 runs an inning game. He's going to give up 3 to 4 walks. He's going to pitch about 5 innings. I think that's just pretty much what's going to be standard. That's why when he had that great start recently against the Mets, it was so shocking. Sheehan's still in the game, gets the first out in the 6th inning, but in the 7th inning, he is pulled from the game when Moises Ballesteros singles. How about this for Sheehan? 6 1/3, 1 run, 4 hits, 1 walk, 10 Ks. Pretty good outing, but once he left, sometimes that just gives the offense just sparks up. Like, we're done with this guy. Give us anyone else other than this guy. And so he's out of the game. Vesia would come in. He would get Carson Kelly to fly out. PCA would walk. And so you got 2 on for Dansby Swanson, who triples, 2-run score. Cubs now trail 4-2. Nico would follow that up with a single. Now it's a 1-run deficit. Bottom of the 7th, Andy Pages doubles to right, Dustin. I think this is what you were referring to. Seiya makes just a great throw to Nico, who guns down Pages at third base. That's the old 9-4-5 double play, perfectly executed.
Yeah. We'll see those all the time. You see those all the time.
What does Ron Coomer say? Ron Coomer always says you cannot make the first or the last out at third base. So, hey, thanks. Hey, thanks a lot, Pages. We'll take that one right there. The next batter, Hyasung Kim, is going to ground out to first. The ball deflects off the glove of Michael Busch. Nico jumps in the air, catches it barehanded, and with his momentum carrying him towards right field, this looked like Michael Jordan-esque. He's in the air and he throws it to first base. Perfect throw to the pitcher covering first. We talked last episode. I thought Nico made one of the best plays I ever saw him made. That's now the new best play I've ever seen Nico make.
Right. I mean, he's a highlight machine lately. It's crazy.
I mean, the ball is deflected. He's going the opposite direction. He bare hands it in the air. And then again, the momentum's kind of pulling him away from first, and he still makes the throw to a catcher. And it wasn't like the first baseman was sitting there. He has to hit the pitcher in stride on that play. That's unreal. Bottom of the 8th, Alex Bregman, who heard the boos all weekend from the Dodgers faithful, remembering that he was part of the Astros team that beat LA in the World Series by banging on garbage cans. He hits a solo home run to tie a game. Looked like the Cubs are going to take the lead with Ian Happ at first and Mo Baller hitting. Ballesteros the double, but Ian Happ thrown out by Andy Pages. I say maybe we don't test that guy's arm out anymore. That was his second outfield assist in the game.
Good idea.
We're not going to see him for a while.
Yeah, August, early August, they come to Wrigley.
Top of the 9th, Tanner Scott comes into the game, PCA singles, and Dansby Swanson hits a 2-run homer. Cubs take their first lead in the game in the 9th inning. They're up 6-4. And of course, Corbin Martin, we all knew he would come in, right? And sit the Dodgers down 1-2-3. The Cubs take game one. I thought it was just such a great job by the offense because even though they just could not get to Sheehan, they didn't let that, they still never gave up, right? They scored 6 runs in the 7th through the 9th inning, right? Ryan Rollison, again, these are all guys that are just really, they're just putting whatever warm bodies they got. Picked up his first win of the season, 3 scoreless innings. So he kept the Cubs in it while they were making their comeback. Martin picks up the save, his first of the season. Dustin, these are 2 guys nobody even knows about. Like they could literally walk into your house. You wouldn't know they were Cubs players. And there they are pitching in front of 53,000 fans in what ended up being a really close game. We talked about the defensive gems, Seiya with 2, Nico with 2, Swanson made 1 to rob former Cub Kyle Tucker. Again, this is what I was talking about when I had confidence in picking the Cubs 2 out of 3, because you saw confidence in this team. And I thought that they were in a really good spot right there. The Cubs extended their season-long win streak to 10 games, longest winning streak by any team in the majors this season. Dustin, there was the first Cubs win streak of 10 games since an 11-game run in July to August in 2016,
which we remember what happened then, right? Yeah, we remember what happened there. I am so I heard a lot today. Don't worry about April baseball. April baseball doesn't matter. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So when you're on the road in a playoff series up in Milwaukee, that if you would have won one more game at any point in the season, so don't tell me April baseball doesn't count. This 10-game winning streak is going to matter when all things are said and done. There is not a doubt in my mind that this 10-game series is going to resonate. So, don't tell me, you don't learn anything about a team in April. That's a bunch of garbage.
Well, it was their longest win streak within the month of April since 1970. But Dustin, the Cubs are celebrating 150 years as a franchise. This was the 10th time. The 36th time that they've had a 10-win winning streak in franchise history.
That's pretty interesting. 36th time. Now, is that 10 on the number, or is that 10 plus, or
at least 10? At least
10. Okay, so that's all time then. The 10 or more, right? Okay.
Yes,
and
10
that's
or more.
36th time in 150 years.
Yep. So that's why I'm saying enjoy it, because
it means something, right? I mean, that means something. That means who put that? Camp could put that one out. Where'd you get that one from?
No, that's Ed Hardig. That's the Cubs historian. Pulls that one out. So Ed Hardig. All right. And so that was a good one.
Very interesting. Yeah.
But now I'm pumped up for Saturday right after that. And I felt that this game Saturday night, Roki Sasaki versus Colin Rea, I'm like, okay, Sasaki has an ERA over 6. He's struggling. Colin Rea's been pitching well. And then Seiya Suzuki starts off the game, the top of the second, with a solo home run over his fellow countryman. Cubs up 1-0. Top third, Michael Busch with an RBI single makes it 2-0. How about this for Busch? In 14 career games against his old team, he's batting .315 with 8 doubles, 4 home runs, and 12 RBIs. That's I'm sure he would have been happy to stay a few more days in LA. The Dodgers, though, would tie it up in the bottom of the inning. Shohei Ohtani leadoff walk, and then 2 batters later, Max Muncy would tie the game up with a 2-run bomb off Colin Rea. The Cubs would retake the lead in the 4th on a Moises Ballesteros solo home run. He's hit safely, Dustin, in 13 of his last 15 games. It's just unbelievable. Since April 7th, he has a .526 average, 20 for 38, 5 doubles, 4 home runs, 10 RBIs, and a 1.532 OPS during that stretch. That leads all of the majors if you just start at April 7th to today. So that's almost a whole month. The bottom of the 4th, though, Dustin, that's where the wheels fall off. Colin Rea got the first out.
Did they ever?
Gives up a single to Hyesung Kim, doubled Alex Freeland to tie the game. Rea makes a wild pitch. Ohtani walks. Freeman singles to make it 4-3. Rea's day is done. Assad comes in, walks Max Muncy, but he gets Kyle Tucker to pop out. 2 outs, 1-run game, no big deal. Unfortunately, Assad would give up 3 more singles, and by the time the inning was over, the Dodgers had sent 11 men to the plate and scored 6 runs. But, okay, the Cubs have had amazing comeback the night before. Or did they have another one in them, right? Miguel Amaya, solo home run in the 5th to cut the lead in half, 8-4, his second of the year. Top of the 6th, Dustin. The Cubs load the bases, no outs. So the tying runs at the plate, but Dansby and PCA strike out. Miguel Amaya grounds out. That essentially was the ball game. Bottom of the 6th, the Dodgers would add 4 more off Assad. Journeyman Vince Velasquez would finish this one up. But Dustin, when you have the bases loaded and you're Dansby Swanson, no outs, you have to make contact. You cannot strike out there. PCA, you got to try not to strike out. Miguel Amaya, nothing you can do with 2 outs. But that nobody out, you have to make contact.
You got to make contact, no doubt.
I'm not going to be mad at Dansby after the night he had before, but it's just one of those.
He gets a little rope, right?
He gets a little rope, a little bit of a pass, but it's like, dude, that's the thing is that the good teams, they make contact. They keep that line moving. You don't have to have a home run or a triple, but you got to keep that strikeout then puts pressure on the next guy. And if he doesn't get it, now the odds go way down. Between Ray and Assad, they would pitch 5 2/3 innings, give up 12 runs on 13 hits, 6 walks, and 6 Ks. The offense wasn't much better. They scored 4 runs on 9 hits, but were 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position and left 7 men on base. So, that would take us to the rubber match on Sunday. And Shota Imanaga has been pretty dominant this season, but so has Justin Wrobleski. Unfortunately, his game was pretty much over after the second inning. Bottom of the 1st, Shohei draws a walk. Shota strikes out Freddie Freeman. Ohtani would steal second and advance to third on a throwing error on Carson Kelly. Shota would walk Teoscar Hernandez. Second walk of the inning. First time Shota's done that this year. Andy Pajes sack fly to put the Dodgers up 1-0. Shota would then give up back-to-back doubles to Kyle Tucker and Miguel Rojas to make it a 3-0 game. And those are all the runs that the Dodgers would really need. Cubs offense couldn't get the big hit.
That's all they would need. That's all they would need. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Cubs couldn't get the big hit. Top of the 1st, Nico single, Bregman walks, but happened Suzuki strike out and Carson Kelly grounds out to end the threat. Top of the 2nd, Michael Busch leadoff double. Cubs would load the bases with 1 out, but Nico would strike out and Alex Bregman would ground out to end the threat. Cubs went 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position, Dustin, in the first 2 innings of the game. The Cubs would only have 2 more hits in the final 7 innings. The Dodgers would score 2 more in the 6th off Shota and Hobie Milner. And then in the 7th inning, Shohei Ohtani solo home run, his 6th of the season off Milner to make it a 6-0 game. That's how this would end. But Dustin, the offense would get shut out for the 3rd time this season, had only 4 hits, 1 extra base hit, 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position. They left 12 men on base. And I really feel like that's the story of the series here. 1 for 16 on Saturday and Sunday with runners in scoring position, 19 men left on base. That's just too much, Dustin, against a team with the firepower of the Dodgers.
Yeah, they were awful on Sunday. It was just, it was horrifically bad. No doubt about it. You can't give the Dodgers anything extra, right? You got to at least make them earn it. Craig Counsell talked about the walks that bit Shota because he ended up, he had a 10 or 12 consecutive batters out run in there in the middle of all that. And it looks like he was, if you didn't watch the game, it looks like he was just hot garbage, but he wasn't that bad. It was just when he was bad. And then to your point, they make contact. So if you put 2 guys on for nothing and they make contact, bad things are going to happen to you. And that's exactly what went wrong for Shota on Sunday afternoon. No doubt about that.
And if you look at this was from Marquis, 5 starts this month. In his first 4 starts, 3 earned runs, 9 hits, 5 extra base hits, 4 walks in 24 innings. On Sunday, 5 earned runs, 6 hits, 4 extra base hits, 3 walks in just 5 innings. So, I mean, that's why I felt really confident.
But I think the walks is the key there. I think the walks. Yeah. I think the walks is the number that really stands out because it's too much against a team like the Dodgers. That's just a recipe for a disaster.
Both runs both walks came around to score in that first. And I just sit there. I did find it funny though, that there were 2 Cubs that were constantly booed the entire game. Alex Bregman and PCA. PCA is not making any friends with the Dodger fans. He had made some comments about how they don't pay attention to the game and this and that, and trying to compare Dodger fans to Cub fans. do you like Pete kind of spouting off a little bit? Do you think it kind of adds a little bit to the rivalry?
Yeah, I have no problem with it. I mean, he just needs to back it up because he didn't have a great series. I mean, obviously, he has a key hit on Friday night, right? Gets himself on base ahead of the 2-run home run by Dansby Swanson. But he struck out at least 4. Saturday, he was 0 for 4 all Ks or 0 for 5 with 4 Ks. Something.
The golden
something
sombrero, 0 for 4.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, in all Ks. So I mean, it's tough, and he puts a lot of pressure on himself. There's no doubt he cares. There's no doubt that his actions are meant to go in the right directions. I just hope it doesn't make the guy go mute because of the fact that he's going to get heat for speaking his mind.
Well, I will tell you, though, he did have another 5-star catch right now in baseball. So 5-star catch is just like an elite level catch, right? And so right now, Pete leads baseball in outfield outs above average, and he has 5-star catches. Nobody else in baseball has more than 2. So that was the play. It was like a sinking line drive from Dalton Rushing, right? Only a 25% catch probability. So as frustrating as sometimes the offense has been, what he contributes defensively, I wonder sometimes if Cub fans really understand what a difference that makes. And when you have starters that are struggling or a bullpen that's as beat up as the Cubs, every out that you can get is valuable. And the value that he brings to this team is just otherworldly. And I hope Cub fans are just absolutely respecting the defense. I know the offense isn't where we want it. It's not where Pete wants it, but man, on defense, I've never been able to witness something like this from a Cubs. You know, Dawson was a little old, long in the tooth when he came to Wrigley, right? I'm trying to think, Hayward was really, really good, but this PCA stuff to me is just another level for me watching as a baseball fan.
You are listening to the Fly the W podcast. We are happy to be part of the Blue Wire Network. This is episode 356. The Cubs, Crawley, have come back to earth. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. You got a 5-star review in you? We'll take it. Email us, Crawley's Clubhouse, gmail.com. Don't forget you can watch us as you might be doing so right now, Crawley's Clubhouse. YouTube page. In this segment, we're previewing Cubs, Padres, Petco Park. Later on tonight, 8:40, first pitch out west. It includes the pitching matchups, off-season moves, and which players are hot and which players are not. Crawley.
Yeah, Dustin, the 2025 Padres get off to a historic start, 19-11 in March and April, but they finished like they normally did, second place behind the Dodgers in the NL West. The record there, they finished with a record of 90-72, good for the second wild card spot, which meant they would play the Cubs in the wild card series. During the regular season, the Cubs and Padres played each other twice in April and then didn't see each other until October. They split the series 3-3 with each team winning the series at home. But Dustin, the playoff series was electric. I was at all 3 games. The Cubs took game 1 3-1 with Seiya and Carson Kelly going back to back in the 5th inning, back-to-back jacks. They were shut out in game 2 by former Cub Dylan Cease in a strong bullpen performance, along with the 2-run homer by Manny Machado off Shota Imanaga. And then the Cubs punched their ticket to the division series by beating the Padres 3-1, knocking Yu Darvish out of the game in the 2nd inning. Dustin, if you remember, after the series ended, Mike Shildt unexpectedly stepped down. He still had 2 years left on his deal. And GM AJ Preller hired, tell me if this sounds familiar, hired one of his front office guys and former relief pitcher for the Padres, Craig Stammen, to a 3-year deal, even though he has no managerial experience. We've talked about this idea of just getting a guy and then just having that direct line to the manager's office. This is one of AJ Preller's guys. Yep. So
that's a new way. That's the new way of baseball now. Yep.
Again, I'm not going to like it that much. When we take a look at the offseason, the Padres re-signed Michael King. The Cubs were interested, 3-year deal. Other big moves, they made a couple of more smaller moves, nothing big. Walker Buehler, they signed him to a minor league deal. Cubs are going to see him in the series. They signed Nick Castellanos after the Phillies cut him. So not a crazy year as far as they go, but they did lose some big players. They lost Dylan Cease, who we talked about, to the Blue Jays. Luis Ariz goes to the Giants. I think he's such an underrated player. One of their best bullpen arms, Robert Suarez, goes to the Braves. And first baseman outfielder Ryan O'Hearn's at the Pirates, and he's doing great for Pittsburgh. So, but still the Pirates are still the Pirates. They keep chugging along. If you take a look at the standings here, Dustin, they are in second place again. This is just how the season ended last year in the NL West. Dodgers in first place at 19-9. The Padres are 18-9, and they are 7-3 in their last 10. So just be aware of that. Diamondbacks 15-12, Giants 13-15, and the Rockies bringing up the rear at 13-16. The Cubs, on the other hand, they're still kind of right behind the Cincinnati Reds, who they're going to see very shortly. But the Cubs are 8-2 in their last 10. That's what that big winning streak does. Pirates 16-12. They're 2 behind. Brewers 14-13, and the Cardinals 14-13. So while 3 teams, Dustin, in the NL Central went 5-5, the Pirates, Brewers, Cardinals, it's really been the Cubs and the Reds who have kind of been able to come up. The Cubs are 8-2, and the Reds are 7-3 in their last 10. So we got a good dogfight going on here in the NL Central. I'll tell you.
And that's why that's why that 10-game winning streak matters, right? That's why that 10-game winning streak matters, because now you're right back up near the top. You're just a game out, and you're getting the Reds, I believe, coming up soon over at Wrigley Field after they have this one going on against the Padres out west.
Well, they got the Padres coming up, and then they have a 3-game set where that's the Kerry Wood bobblehead gave away. That's against the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, but I think after the Diamondbacks, it's the Reds.
One of my favorite, a 4-game series. So yeah,
you're a 4-gamer, a 4-gamer.
Not natural. But last week, the Padres took 2 of 3 against the Rockies in Colorado, and they just finished a big weekend 2-game series against the D-backs. It was the Mexico City series. So, there's a lot of pomp and circumstance, obviously. Padres took game 1 6-4, but they lost the second game 12-7. Obviously, we were talking about the unbelievable 10-game winning streak that came to an end, losing 2 of 3 to the Dodgers. Now, this is where you got to pay attention. The Padres are 9-4 at home, Dustin. They have one of the best home records in baseball, along with the Braves, the Yankees, and the Cubs. But the Cubs are 6-6 on the road, so it's kind of something to keep an eye on. The Padres really do play well in Petco, but I'm curious to see how the Cubs outfield plays. There's a lot of real estate out there. But let's take a look at who's hot and who's not.
He is really heating up.
The Cubs have 5 everyday players on the hot list hitting over 300 in the last week. That kind of keeps in mind that 10-game winning streak. Remember when we're talking about who's hot, we were saying a player that's hitting over 300 over the last week. And so when you talk about some of these guys, we talked about Moises Ballesteros, 6 for his last 13, hitting 462. Seiya Suzuki, 10 for 24 with 4 home runs and 6 RBIs, slashing 417, 41, 917. You have Michael Busch, 9 for 26 with 2 homers, 8 RBIs, hitting 346. PCA, you want to talk about the bat. He's 7 for his last 21. Now, he wasn't that great in the Dodgers, but he had some multi-hit games at the homestand that kind of boosted that average up over the last week. Carson Kelly hitting 313. So just a lot of guys on the hot list. As far as the Padres are concerned, the main guys that are kind of hitting right now, Xander Bogaerts, shortstop, 6 for his last 18 with the home run, 2 RBIs. You have Ty France. That he's the only one. Miguel Andujar, who's 4 for his last 13 with 2 doubles, hitting 308. These are not guys that are on the hot list just because they're not hitting 300, but you do got to be careful. Ty France has 2 home runs in the last week, and Manny Machado, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs. He's hitting 286. So he's one of those bubble guys, but he's been heating up lately. So something to kind of watch out for.
They got a tough lineup. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, they always do. And the Cubs only have 1 player on the cold list. That's defined as anyone hitting under 200 over the last week. Any idea who it is?
Under 200, Miguel Amaya?
Close. He's at 200, but it is Dansby Swanson, 4 for 21. but he has one
See,
home
it's
run
so
and 6
weird, but
RBIs.
all the hits he does have are big hits, right? The hits he does have are big hits. So that is interesting.
The Padres have 4 everyday players on the cold list hitting below 200. Looking at the Padres, Ramon Laureano, their left fielders, hitting 190. Jake Cronenworth, their second baseman, 176. Jackson Merrill, the young center fielder, 176. And Gavin Sheets at first base hitting 176. So they got 4 guys hitting 176, Dustin, in their everyday lineup. So, something to kind of keep in mind. When we look at the injury report for the Padres, Yu Darvish is out for the year. He
Correct.
hasn't really he just has not played on there. The big one that you want to look up to is Joe Musgrove. He's been out with Tommy John surgery. He's been out a while. Former Cub reliever. He was on this podcast, Jeremiah Estrada, from their bullpens, not there. Also Nick Pivetta. So they're missing a couple of bullpen arms, but we're not going to cry because this is what the Cubs are missing. Phil Maton, Hunter Harvey, Daniel Palencia, Ethan Roberts, Caleb Thielbar, add Riley Martin to that list now. And you just got basically their entire bullpen that they were supposed to have this year is on the IL. So it has been an absolute disaster as far as injuries are concerned. And the fact that the Cubs had a 10-game winning streak despite all that still blows my mind.
Okay.
All righty, let's take a look. This is from April 6th to April 26th, a 3-week sample size. Batting average, Cubs are in first in all of MLB, 288.
Crazy.
Padres, 11th, 248. Slug, the Cubs are third with 467. They have the Padres 13th with 410. But runners in scoring position, Dustin, Padres have the advantage, 256, which is 11th, versus 243 for the Cubs.
I can't believe that they're in 18th place. I mean, if you would have held a gun to my head, I'd have said that they were like 25 to 30.
Nope,
they're so bad in that stat. It's amazing.
Well, when they're good, they're good, and when they're bad, they're really bad. I think that's what kind of throws people off. And
that works. It's a good way to look at it. I would agree with you.
And I think when we look at this season, I think this is how it's going to be. When the Cubs are on, they're getting the runners in, and when they're not, they're not. I don't think there's going to be any kind of in between on that. Starting pitching, though, is the thing that's going to concern you right now. The Cubs have had some couple rocky starts lately. The Padres are 7th with a 3.73 starters ERA, while the Cubs are 22nd with a 4.43. So they've had a lot of guys getting hit around and beat up lately. And the tough thing, Dustin, is some of these guys have to wear this because of the lack of arms in the bullpen. That being said, when it comes to reliever whip, the Cubs bullpen is 5th in baseball at 121, while the Padres are 19th at 141. And then when we talk about defense, the fielding, the Cubs are 3rd in baseball with 16 defensive runs saved, and the Padres are 16th with 3 defensive run saves.
That's the big one.
We have game 1 tonight, Monday, 8:40 p.m. Randy Vasquez versus Matthew Boyd. Vasquez, 27-year-old righty, 2-0 with a 1.88 ERA in 5 games started, 30 strikeouts in 28 2/3 innings. April 9th versus the Rockies, he got no decision, but he only gave up 1 run on 7 hits, 0 walks, and 8 Ks in 5 2/3. April 15th, Mariners got no decision, gave up 4 runs, 5 hits, 4 walks, 6 Ks in 4 innings pitched. And then April 21st, he got the Rockies again in Colorado. He got the win, 7 scoreless innings in Colorado, 3 hits, no walks, 5 in Ks. Vasquez is 0-1 lifetime against the Cubs in 3 starts with a 2.57 ERA. 2 of those starts came last season when he started 2 games, gave up 3 runs in 9 2/3 innings. So he didn't give up a lot of runs, but he was 0 for 1 last year. Cubs don't have a lot of at-bats against Vasquez. Ian Happ, 3 for 8, PCA 2 for 5, and Dansby's 1 for 6. Vasquez is a big strikeout pitcher, generating a lot of whiffs. He's got a big arsenal of pitches, but his 2 main ones are his 4-seamer and cutter, but he can also throw a sinker, changeup, curveball, and slider at any time. He's going to go up against Matt Boyd, 35-year-old lefty who made the All-Star team last year, 1-1 with a 5.79 ERA in 3 games started with 22 strikeouts and 14 innings pitched. Boyd returned from the IL to face the Phillies last week after spending 3 weeks on the IL with bicep soreness. In his return, he gave up 2 runs on 5 hits in 4 2/3 innings, no walks, 5 Ks. Boyd's only faced the Padres twice in his career, both times last season. He went 1-1 against San Diego with a 1.59 ERA, giving up only 2 runs in 11 innings. But the Padres slashed 284, 326, 457 against Boyd. Matt needs to look out for Nick Castellanos, who's had a bad start in his Padres career, but he's 4 for 8, 3 doubles against him. And Machado, 4 for 15 with 2 doubles. Fernando Tatis is 1 for 8 against him. You know, Boyd features that 4-seamer changeup that he uses against righties and a curve and slider against lefties. Game 2, Tuesday night, another 8:40 start, Dustin. I know you're loving these. Walker Buehler versus Edward Cabrera. Buehler's a 31-year-old righty who spent most of his career with the Dodgers until last year. He was with 2 teams, split time there. He's 1-2 with a 5.75 ERA in 5 games, 20 strikeouts, and 20 a third inning pitch. April 10th versus the Rockies, he had a no decision, 6 scoreless innings, 3 hits, no walks, 4 Ks. Against the Mariners on the 16th, he got the win, gave up 2 runs, 5 hits, 1 walk, 7 Ks. And then April 22nd at the Rockies, here's that Colorado air coming. He takes the loss, gave up 4 runs on 8 hits, 3 walks, 2 Ks. He only lasted 2 2/3 inning. Walker Buehler's 1 for 3 lifetime against the Cubs with a 4.54 ERA in 7 games, 6 of them starts. Didn't face the Cubs last season, but in 2024, he faced them 1 time, gave up 5 runs in 5 innings pitched. Cubs slashed 264, 312, 417 against Buehler. Ian Happ 2 for 7 against him. Nico 2 for 5. Walker Buehler features a cutter, a knuckle curve, a 4-seamer, changeup, slider, and sinker. He's going to be taking on Edward Cabrera, 2-0 with a 2.73 ERA in 5 starts with 22 strikeouts and 29 2/3 innings pitched. April 11th versus the Pirates, got no decision, gave up 3 runs, 8 hits, 3 walks, 4 Ks in 5 innings. Against the Mets on the 17th, he got the win, 3 runs on 8 hits, 2 walks, 4 Ks in 6 innings pitched. And then on April 23rd versus the Phillies, he got a no decision, 3 runs on 6 hits, 0 walks, 5 Ks, 7 innings pitched. Cabrera's 1-0 lifetime against the Padres. Dustin, he has a .54 ERA in 3 starts. I know it's a small sample size. Faced the Padres once last season. He gave up 1 run in 5 2/3 innings. Not a lot of Padres have at bats against Cabrera. He needs to be careful of Jake Cronenworth, who's 3-7 against him, but Manny Machado's 0 for 7. Nick Castellanos 2 for 13. Cabrera has that wicked changeup, and that fools the hitters with his 4-seam fastball, curveball, and sinker. Game 3 on Wednesday, 3:10. Finally, some normal baseball times. Matt Waldron is Jameson Taillon, a battle of the righties. Waldron is 29-year-old righty who is 0 for 1 with a 12.46 ERA and 2 games started with 7 strikeouts and 8 2/3 innings. Waldron started the season on the IL, but he was activated on April 17th. This is going to be his 3rd start. His first start back against the Angels was a loss. He gave up 6 runs on 8 hits, 3 walks, 3 Ks, and 5 innings pitched. April 23rd versus the Rockies, no decision, gave up 6 runs, 8 hits, 3 walks, 3 Ks. He hasn't faced the Cubs in his career. He's only pitched in more than 10 games in the season once in 2024. The only 2 Cubs that faced him is Michael Conforto's 1 for 5. Bregman is 0 for 2. Waldron features a knuckleball, 4-seamer, sweeper, and cutter. Jameson Taillon is going to be taking the bump for the Cubs. 1-1 with a 4.55 ERA in 5 games, started with 25 strikeouts in 27 2/3 innings. April 12th against Pittsburgh, he gave up 6 runs, no decision. So his offense bailed him out on that, but he did have 10 Ks in 6 innings pitched. Against the Met, he got the win. I was there, 1 run, 5 hits, 3 walks, 4 Ks, 6 innings pitched. And then against the Dodgers last weekend, he gave up 4 runs, 4 hits, 3 walks, 4 Ks, 5 innings pitched. He did not get the decision on that one, but JMO's 2-0 with a 2.40 ERA in 5 games in his career against San Diego. Nick Castellanos has had some success against Taillon, 5 for 13 with a double and a home run and 3 RBI. Xander Bogaerts, 6 for 30 with 3 doubles. Taillon features a 4-seamer, cutter, changeup, sweeper, and curve. Some interesting pitching matchups, Dustin. And when we make our predictions later on in the show, this one's a tough one. You know, when you think about the Padres and how good they are at home, but some of the pitchers that the Cubs are having to face, they should be able to put some runs up.
Absolutely right. You're listening to the Fly the W podcast, part of the Blue Wire Network. It is Cubs Come Back Down to Earth. It's episode number 346. Odds and ends from around baseball. Of course, Cubs notes as well. All right, Crowley, we have reached the Cubs at the 27-game mark.
Okay, so one thing I've talked about is this kind of rule of 9 when it comes to watching the season. And again, can we make any determinations this early in the year? And so the way that this rule of 9 works is there's 162 games in a season, right? If you break that down into 9-game segments, there's 18 9-game segments in 162. So it just kind of gives you kind of a bigger snapshot, a better snapshot of how the Cubs have been performing. So Dustin, for the first 9 games of the season, the Cubs were 4-5, 1 game under 500. Their second 9 games of the season, the Cubs were 5-4, and their third 9 games of the season, the Cubs were 8-1. So they were a 500 team until this last 9 games where they were 8-1. Again, that doesn't happen often. But you got 16% of the season done. We're almost getting close to that quarter mark. And so if you're looking at this thing and you're looking at what the Cubs are doing, I feel like, we're happy with where they are right now. And, I know people are saying, well, they have a bunch of tough matchups coming up. Yeah, but we thought the same thing when we looked and saw the Mets and the Phillies on the schedule, right? But right now the Cubs are 17-11, like we said, 11-5 at home. That 7-game homestand really helped. 6-6 on the road. They are 2-4 against teams that are 500. But right now, I feel like, the Cubs are even overperforming them where I thought they would be right now in the season. So I think so far so good, but just kind of keep watching. And again, every game obviously is going to count, right? Losses count equally in the beginning of the season, end of the season. It's just the one thing you just don't want to do. And I guess this is my point is I do feel that way, that losses count the same either way. You don't want to blow games. You don't want the bullpen to blow stuff. You don't want to go 0 for 18 with runners in scoring position, but these things are going to happen over the course of the season. It's just not overreacting to the bad times and not thinking you're better than you are during the good times. And so I think that that series against the Dodgers, you got to see what a step up in class. And I thought the Cubs did okay, but there's still work to be done for this team.
No doubt. A good way to look at it though, Crawley. That's a good perspective. All right, let's get into these roster moves, IL, Riley Martin going down. I thought, this guy's really going to get a run here, in the bullpen with as decimated as it was. And all of a sudden out of nowhere, I see on social media that Riley Martin hits the injured list. But
if you remember, it was that last game against the Phillies. The trainers came out to look at him and he finished that game, but I knew something was wrong. I'm sitting here, I'm like, watch, because that was the one where Thielbar got hurt as well.
Yeah,
right.
Thielbar got hurt on the first pitch, and Riley Martin came in and settled things down there. Right,
right. And he pitched a couple innings, but there's a time where they came out, and then afterwards the Cubs were like, "Oh, he's just got a twitchy personality. We thought we saw something, but he said he was fine." Blah blah blah. And then on Friday, so here's what we had.
Not so much.
On Friday, Nicky Lopez had his contract selected. Scott Kingery goes bye-bye. He's DFA'd. So Craig is a big Nicky Lopez fan.
Again, now he's really gone.
He's gone.
Okay.
Vince Velasquez was up, and he did again give the Cubs some innings. And then Caleb Thielbar, 15-day IL with a left hamstring strain. To make room for Nicky Lopez on the 40-man roster, Porter Hodge was transferred to the 60-day IL. That gets us to Sunday after Vince Velasquez has to eat innings. He is DFA'd. Have a nice day. Riley Martin on the 15-day IL, retroactive to April 24th with left elbow inflammation. Charlie Barnes is recalled back up, and Yaxiel Rios had his contract selected. But like I said, a lot of these guys are guys that, they're not top prospect types of guys. They're guys that have had cups of coffee or just never really kind of made it, like more 4A players. But just it's been tough. And how much longer can you possibly go? We talked about Riley Martin. He's on the 15-day IL. The good news is, and I know you're on the fence on this one until you see better, but Phil Maton is.
Well, they got to have bodies, Crawley. They got to have somebody to throw. I mean, not a huge fan, but they got to have some bodies.
He may return in this series against San Diego. He pitched 25 pitches and 1 scoreless inning in a rehab outing at AAA Iowa on the 24th. So he rejoined the Cubs in LA on the 25th. And so I would say maybe not tonight, but maybe Tuesday night, you're going to see Phil Maton. Daniel Palencia has that left lat strain. I thought it was an oblique. They're saying lat strain now. He's expected to be back in May. Had a touch and feel session on bullpen session
What
on
does
April
that
25th.
mean?
Right? It's basically just like you're throwing, but you're not putting anything really into it. You're just kind
I
of
thought that was something that the Patriots owner did at a strip mall in
Masseuse?
Florida. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But he, but it's basically just kind of like get on the mound, go through your, throw a couple throws. He's not giving any gasolina. Let's just put it that way. It's no gasolina. Ethan Roberts looks like he might be back late April, early May. Obviously he injured his hand with that weird vent injury, but he had now
We're already at late April, buddy. We already in late April.
Yeah, but maybe later. AAA, but he's in AAA. He had a AAA outing. He threw 23 pitches in 1 inning. He's going to have one more rehab game before they make a decision. Thielbar, he's going to be out for 15 days minimum. They're hoping he can return on his eligibility date, but sometime in mid-May. But that's a tough injury. Hunter Harvey, right?
Let me know when Thielbar gets to the touch and feel part of his rehabilitation.
I'll let you know. Hunter Harvey has some tricep inflammation. He's retroactive to April 9th. He's resumed a throwing program, but he's not back and he's not at the touch and feel part. Jordan Wicks he threw 43. Jordan Wicks, your guy. 43 pitches in 2 2/3 scoreless innings in his second rehab outing with AAA Iowa. 2 strikeouts, 1 walk, 5 hits allowed. So Dustin,
why is he not in San Diego? Why is he not in San Diego?
I think he will. I think they're going to see how he responds to this last outing. He threw a lot of pitches, so 43 pitches. So let's see how his body feels, and if it's feeling good, he'll be ready to go.
Okay, we're calling this one the Boston Massacre, huh? Part 2.
Well, the Boston Massacre, yeah. I don't know if you saw this on Friday. Former Cub exec and current chief baseball officer for the Reds, Craig Breslow, fired Alex Cora and 5 members of his coaching staff. And I guess, Dustin, look, I know there are expectations, especially in a city like Boston. But when you think about this, I don't know if it was just the way it was handled, how they dealt with it with the players. The players were not happy. I mean, they were, Boston had a 10-17 start. Not good. Okay. No doubt about that. But a lot of times you ask yourself, well, why blame the manager? I guess would be my point. And if there was something, if I just think about Alex Cora's reputation, he's got a great reputation in the game. I wonder if they pulled the trigger too early on this. And not only that,
there's got to be something more to this. He's a player's manager. The players aren't happy about it. The players obviously weren't consulted about this. And typically you just let the manager go. They not only let him go, they let him and 4 or 5 of his coaches go, including reassigning Red Sox hero Jason Varitek. I mean, yeah. Something's going on. There's got to be, these guys are partying, they're gambling. I'm just saying, without any explanation, there just seems like something allegedly must be going on there that we don't know about, because this doesn't seem normal. And then Breslow goes and says, well, hey, I didn't really exactly give him the best roster either. Okay, well then what are you doing? Right? They didn't just fire them. I mean, they're messing with 5 people's lives here. And the other interesting part of this is, what is Theo Epstein's role in any of this? Because Theo is a part owner. Right? Theo's part owner of that team. So what, if anything, does he have to do with this? And then if you're a guy on the hot seat, how fast do they fire this guy to go get Alex Cora? Right? I mean, as you said, well-respected, thought of very highly, really interesting.
5 members of the coaching staff and Jason Varitek.
That's just different, right? That's just different. Typically it's one guy. You don't see 5 heads roll.
Well, Jason Varitek is going to be, will have a new role in the team. So it's more of a promotion for him.
But was it a promotion or a demotion?
I think it's more of a promotion.
Okay. I'm not so sure, but we'll keep an eye on it, because it does. There's always with the Red Sox, there's always a Cubs connection, right? There's always something there.
Yeah, it definitely is messed up. And like I said, I'm just glad. I think that's an overreaction. Now, if you're telling me you lost the clubhouse, and not only that, but you're not going to talk to the players and explain everything. The players wanted to have conversations with management.
Yeah, the owner
said
sticking
no.
his head. Yeah, the owner sticking his head in the sand. You know, one guy says it was a group decision. The other guy comes out and says, no, Breslow started this. Breslow, got this going down the plank, if you will. It's like, well, wait a minute. You guys got to get your message straight here, right?
And not only that,
the messaging is not accurate, right? Come on.
And not only that, though, Dustin, is that one of the guys that didn't get fired was the pitching coach, who was Andrew Bailey, who's close friends of Breslow's from their playing days.
Ah, that can
be. And so Chad Tracy, son of former big league manager Jim Tracy, takes over as the interim manager. So we'll see what happens, but this is kind of something fun to kind of follow.
Definitely an interesting story. I feel a little bit bad for these guys, unless there is something going on that we really don't know all about. A little more Kyle Schwarber lovable reunion stuff, Crowley.
Yeah, if I finally watched it, the Kyle Schwarber interview, and Dustin, I got to give you another homework assignment. This is your guy, and
yeah, I need to make the time. I honestly, I have not made the time yet for that one, and I do want to.
Well, it's just so fun to hear them talk and laughing, and the one thing, especially with like the young guys, is how much of an impression Ross, Rizzo to a degree, and other players made on these guys. And, I love the stories. There's a story when Schwarber's still catching, and I can't remember who was up to plate, but if you remember, Mike Borzello used to work with the catchers, come up with the game plans, all this stuff when Joe was there. Mm-hmm. And Borzello tells him, when in doubt, spin it, against this one guy that was up to bat. When in doubt, spin it. And, all of a sudden Schwarber kind of called a fastball, gets hit. And as the guy's coming around the base with the home run, Schwarber's got his head down and this and that. And, when they get back into the dugout, Borzello's giving Schwarber an earful. What did I tell you? When in doubt, spin it. When in doubt, it was like a 3-2 count or something. And but Schwarber goes over to Ross and Ross tells him, don't you ever let anyone see you put your head down like that. Do not. There are 8 other guys watching you right now, plus the opposing team. Do not let them see you put your head down. And Schwarber talks a lot about how like that really impacted him, not just as a fielder, and obviously he didn't stick with the catching, but even just as a hitter. And he tells that to young guys now is don't let them let them see the frustration. Don't let the pitcher see that they got you upset. Just get back, walk back, and I mean, it's harder than it seems, but just the lessons that these guys learned and the funny stories, there's this story about how, obviously you remember Kyle Schwarber in left field wasn't exactly the most graceful, and just a hilarious story about when John Lester was getting ready to retire, they made this video. Rizzo came up with this idea to put this video of a montage of all of Kyle Schwarber's errors, and then all of John Lester's reaction to the errors. And so, brilliant. And they actually had Kyle Schwarber narrating it, and whatever that "I Will Remember You" song by Sarah McLachlan.
Yeah.
So they're playing all this stuff, and everyone's just laughing. But the story about obviously when his knee blew out and how just how difficult that was for him, and coming back, and as he got closer, the doctor talking to him and being like, look. Hey, if if the DH, you're good to go at this point, he said, because what the concern was for me is when you're making where you don't know where you're going. And so the issue, but if hitting, where you're running bases. So they're like, do this clearance. And so that's when he went to Arizona. In the NLCS, the Cubs fly to LA for games 3, 4, 5, and Schwarber flew to Arizona to start to try and get ready. And just when you hear the amount of work and the amount of preparation he did for it, it's just unbelievable. And just like I said, so many stories. And I think the thing that would interest Cub fans, especially you, is that he talks about himself getting DFA'd. He talks about the DFA from the Cubs and how maybe he doesn't become the player he is today without that DFA.
Without it, right? I heard him say the same thing to our guy Bruce Devine last time the Phillies were in town just a couple weeks ago now. Week ago, right? He said the same thing, that he earned to be DFA'd, and that almost to the point that he deserved to be DFA'd, if you believe that.
No, I believe it, because I went back after I heard that and I looked. Obviously 2020 was a weird year, but it's just numbers weren't that good. And you know, I mean, I don't know. There was decisions that had to be made. It's easy to look back now and be like, how could you do something so stupid over $7 million? But we're looking at Kyle Schwarber, how he is today. And it's weird because they were talking about it. Rizzo said, if you hit 30 home runs for the next 5 years, if Kyle Schwarber hits 30 home runs for the next 5 years, that puts him at 500 home runs. Now, obviously DHs have it a little bit different, but usually, Dustin, 500 is one of those numbers that gets you into Cooperstown. So I'm very, you know, obviously you and I are going to continue to watch Schwarber's career till the end, and you know what happens, you know, that once he gets to the few years when he's eligible for Hall of Fame induction. I don't know if, obviously he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't know too many DHs that are, but I think that, you know, maybe after 3 or 4 years, he would maybe get into the Hall. It'd be interesting.
It will be interesting. Hopefully we can keep an eye on that. All right, little prediction time, Crawley. We got 840, 840, 310. We went through the pitching matchups, but quickly again, Matthew Boyd, Edward Cabrera, Jameson Taillon in that order. What are you thinking, Crawley? How do you see this one shaking out?
I have the Cubs losing game 1 tonight on Monday night, and I have Cubs winning game 2 and game 3. I have Edward Cabrera out pitching Walker Buehler, and then I have Jameson Taillon. I don't know if he's going to win it, but I have the feeling that the Cubs are going to beat Matt Waldron and the Padres. I would hit the over on game 3.
Yeah, I'd hit the over on game 3, but I'd hit the under on the game tonight. I think that might be a real pitcher's duel. And, you know, I'll go 2 out of 3. I don't have a good feel on which 2, because I think tonight they could win. Maybe it's that last game because of the bullpen issues the Cubs are having right now. Maybe, you know, it's something goofy like 8-7. But I say we're both going with the Cubs win the series. You've got it broken down a little bit better than me. But hey, if they're 2 out of 3 and coming back to Wrigley, that would be pretty sweet. We'll get back with everybody on Thursday, day off Thursday, and then Friday, Crawley, the D-backs are in town, correct?
Absolutely, and I'm super excited about that. I'll be at Wrigley on Saturday for the Kerry Wood 20K strikeout bobblehead. But let's take care of business first. Let's beat those Padres and avenge 84. Go Cubs!
It's all over.